Attention bowlers, we're going to get started from Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. This is the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. My name is Steve Kelly, and I will be your host and guide during this Class B North playoff match between today's challengers, Rob Brown, the number 8 seed, versus JJ Tourigny, the number 1 seed. Good as always to have you along with us, originally live streamed on this Saturday morning, May 25th, 2024, and available for rewatching anytime upon the conclusion of this match. If you're new to the ACST or Candlepin bowling in general, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to you and hope you enjoy this match, as well as Candlepin bowling as a whole. That's Rob Brown starting out with a half Worcester, but nearly converting it to a spare right out of the gate, leaving only the 2-pin on the deck. Today we're on lanes 17 and 18 at Leda Lanes. Rob Brown will open up with a 10 box.
How are you, Mr. Kelly?
How are ya?
We got Ryan here, so he'll be loud.
Yeah, give me about 5 minutes.
Saying hi to Ryan Southall, who's here in the audience today. Anyways, so for those interested, I'd like to highlight a couple things. This broadcast will be available with subtitles and live captioning. If not immediately, it will be available sometime after the match is concluded. I'll also be providing audible descriptions of the play-by-play action as well as scoring to the best of my ability. If you have any questions or suggestions, as always, please be sure to let me know in the comments. And as always, the scoreboard you see on the stream should always be considered unofficial. The actual copy that is for the record is kept on a paper copy by the bowlers themselves. Rob Brown will take an 8 box for 18 after 2. And we are at Leda Lanes today on this Saturday morning. You are watching Rob Brown in the maroon bowl on lane 18. His third box, his opening ball, is a 5-drop, leaving the 4 horseman right side and the 8-pin on the deck. He needs to run down the 4 horseman, the 1-3 pocket to take it, and he does precisely that. Rob will take a spare. The first mark of the match, hopefully the first of many. Many playoff aspirations for both Rob Brown and JJ Tourigny today. JJ Tourigny coming in hot as the number 1 bowler in B North, as well as the number 1 seed in his division. Rob Brown, meanwhile, challenging JJ. Rob Brown filling the spare, and a fill it certainly is. Looks like it's going to be a 4 fill by my count. Rob Brown following up, punching a little bit too hard straight through the center, leaving the 2, the 3, the 6, and the 10 pins on the deck. He's at 32 after 3. Rob Brown following up for the 10 box. He'll sail through the center for a 6 box. That'll put him at 38 after 4. With 1 more to go before he sits, before we welcome JJ Tourigny to the lanes for the first time today. We'll be going over some stats for the bowlers as we go along today. And Rob Brown on the pocket, dropping 9. Very fast 9. Ryan Southall bowling John Winchell this Friday at 6:30 at Exeter Lanes. Rob Brown missing the single pin 5-pin. Just a little bit off to the right for the 10 box. And he'll sail to the right once more. He'll take another 9 box. So he has 1 mark in the first half of the first game. That puts him at 47 after 5. Plenty of bowling to go. Plenty of time to make any adjustments or any corrections. 47 after 5 is not a bad opening half, certainly. On lanes 17 and 18, we're going to say hello to JJ Tourigny. Meanwhile, our home bowler today, JJ Tourigny. And what more can I tell you about JJ Tourigny other than he's been on an absolute hot streak this entire season with a season record of 189 and 63 with 18 matches played. That's a perfect 3.0 win-loss ratio. His home record is 109 and 17 with 9 matches played. His away record is 80 and 46, also with 9 matches played. That's the end of the regular season stats. JJ trying to get a 10 box. He missed the spare opportunity, but he'll take an 8 box to open up with. 8 after 1 for Mr. Tourigny. JJ's season average is 114.65. That's 3rd in B overall. His home average is 114.4, and that's an 8-drop, 9-drop for JJ, leaving only the 3-pin, a wiggly 3-pin. JJ's away average is 114.9, which is 0.5 higher than his home average. JJ for a single pin spare. Plays the wood, plays it a little bit too hard. The wood and the ball deflected safely away from the 3-pin at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. JJ following up for the 10 box, but he'll take a 9 box as a consolation prize for 17 after 2. And I believe JJ needs to pause for a score correction because I see it is out of sync on the automatic scoreboard at Leda Lanes. The Cubica AMF BES automatic computer scoring system. It's fairly newly installed at Leda Lanes. Still a couple of quirks to work out in terms of a few things, but one of the greatest features of this new score system is the ability to score correct down at the lanes, whereas the outgoing Pro Score system at Leda required you to go up to the front desk to do any and all score corrections. JJ with a right side lemon drop plus a friend. He's on the pocket for the follow-up. Doesn't quite take out everything else. He's left with the 4 and the 7 pins on the deck. Shooting for a 10 box with a piece of wood out far ahead of the 4-pin. I'm worried about that wood, but he'll take it anyway for a 10 box. Pushing it straight back for 27 after 3 for Mr. Tourigny. If you're just tuning in, welcome to this playoff match of the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour, this Class B North match between Rob Brown at JJ Tourigny at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. That's JJ Tourigny in the gray on the right lane on lane 18. The far right lane of one of the sides of this 2-half house at Leda Lanes on the Saturday morning. JJ dropping 8, leaving the 5 and the 10. He'll take out the 5, leaving the 10. And he'll be shooting for a 10 box. JJ still hunting for a mark at this point. And JJ will foul that off for a 9. Bowler's call, but I'm pretty sure that's safely a 9 box. 36 after 4 for JJ Tourigny. After all is said and done, Rob Brown is at 47 after 5. Both bowlers fairly even, only 11 pins apart at this point in the match. JJ Tourigny's opening ball of the 5th frame of the first game is an 8 drop. The 4 and the 7 are all that's left. JJ shooting for a spare. There's a lot of wood to the right of the 4-pin. Might be helpful for sort of a mental guide, but other than that, got to shoot directly, and directly he does shoot at it. JJ will finish the 5th frame with 46 plus a ball, giving him a saving grace of a fill against Rob Brown's closed 47 after 5 here in the first. And we will say hello once again to Rob Brown, this time on a different lane, on lane 17 at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. Let's talk about Rob Brown for a bit. Rob Brown finished the season at 129 and 123 after 18 matches of regular season play at the ACST. Rob Brown, full shot, but wide, dropping everything but the 4, the 7, and the 10 at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. And he's thinking long and hard, waiting for the wood to settle, which is definitely a good strategy. Gonna make a slight adjustment here to get Rob in frame. And Rob will take a 10 box to consolidate. For 57 after 6 for Rob Brown.
Anybody in this building, huh? Yeah, for a while. You bring the bell with you?
Rob Brown has a home record of 41 and 85 after bowling 9 matches. That's a .48 win-loss ratio. When he's away, he is 88 and 38 with a 2.31 win-loss ratio. Rob Brown dropping 6. 1, 3, 6, 7. He's on the 1-3 pocket, and the ball comes around to finish the job. That's a spare for Rob Brown, his second of the game. 67 plus a ball after 7. And it looks like we might have a slight scoring issue. We might need to just validate, so I'll just pause for that. While JJ just makes some corrections to the scoreboard, we'll circle back to that in just a moment. So let's talk about Rob Brown while we're waiting. Season average of 105.5. When he's away, it's 109.2. When he's home, it's 101.8. So Rob Brown might need to talk about the sixth box, because the 6th box, I believe, should have been a 10, but it's in as a 7, so we'll validate that. But anyways, in the meantime, that's a 7 fill and a spare for Rob Brown. I'll pause for 1 second to talk about the scores. Okay, so my score is correct, so they're going to catch up on the scoreboard afterwards. After all said and done, that's a 6 fill for Rob Brown. Won't say anything about the score until everything gets back in sync in the meantime, but it should unofficially be 90 after 8 for Rob Brown. He's looking at the 1-3-6-7. Once again, no wood, and he almost does it again, almost the second time in a row. The 7 pin is even touched. The 7 pin is left. He hit it perfectly. I wouldn't have done it any differently, but he's looking at the 7 pin for a 10 box on the third ball of the 9th frame, excuse me. Rob Brown shooting at the 7 pin for the 10 box. He will take that 10 box. Still perfect. That should be 100 after 9, I believe. We'll confirm in just a moment, though. And yes, we are caught up. That is indeed 100 after 9 for Rob Brown. And he's off to the left, washes out the left side 3 pins. The back left side triangle. He's on the 1-3 pocket, taking out everything but the 2 and the 9. So no spare for Rob, but he's shooting for a 10 box. The 2 and the 9 with a piece of wood over the 2. Hitting a little bit to the left of the wood in front of the 2. He'll take an 8 box. So 108 for Rob Brown to open up with. That should be confirmed. We have Nick Susi going down to lane 17 at Leda Lanes at the moment, just to check the cameras and the sensors, because there were a couple of mishaps on the automatic scoreboard, but it is confirmed a 108 for Mr. Rob Brown. Rob Brown, his high single was 143. He bowled it against Jeff Little in round 5. And his high series was 582, and he bowled that twice, once against Dominic Palladino in round 9, and then again against John Alosa in round 18. He has 44 strikes, 176 spares, and 196 tens. He's 46% perfect box percentage. He has 9,492 seasonal total pins in the regular season. And to recap, in the position-wise, he is second place in B North Division 1. He's ahead of Joe Moose de Almeida and Jake Morrill, while he's behind John Alosa. Overall, he's 8th place in Class B North and is the wild card seed slot number 4 overall. So that's the story for Rob Brown. And so to recap, Rob Brown finished with a 108 first game. We'll be saying hi to JJ Tourigny once again to finish the second half of the first game. We're just pausing for lane maintenance right now, so just bear with us while we just wait for that to complete before we continue the bowling action. And in terms of JJ Tourigny, let's talk about JJ while we have a spare moment. JJ Tourigny's high single was 150 this season, and he bowled it against, guess what, Rob Brown in round 8. His high series was 634. He bowled that against Tony Levesque in round 14. 58 strikes, 227 spares, and 166 tens. The spare statistic is staggering for JJ. He has a 53% perfect box percentage. He is one of only a few bowlers to cross the 10,000 seasonal total pins statistic this season, with 10,318 seasonal total pins for JJ. And we're back in action. JJ on lane 17, off to the right of the head pin, but pin still falling with the domino effect. The 1, the 6, and the 10 pins are left on the deck for a spare shot. Plenty of wood around it. I would wager if he hit the head pin to the right, that would take everything out, especially with the wood in front of the 6. JJ shooting for the spare, and he misses it, though. He misses the object pin, that is, leaving the object pin, the head pin, and the head pin only for a 10 box. So JJ filled that spare with a 7, and he'll take a 10 for 63 after 6. And that is correct. Again, just making sure we're in sync with the scoreboard and everything. Might have to do some validation here and there just because of automatic scoring and everything. So with JJ, the story is exciting and also unremarkable at the same time, because for the past, I want to say, 8 or 9 weeks, it's been the same. He's the leader of B North Division 3 ahead of Dominic Palladino, Steve Kelly, and Paul Mativier, and he made that all the way to the end of the season. He drops 7 here, 3, 9, 10, takes out only the 9, missing the 3. JJ is the number 1 seed in Class B North. Number 1 generally everything in terms of the raw rankings and statistics when it comes to pure points and averages and, well, not averages. He's number 3 highest average technically, but where it counts, he's number 1. So JJ with a 10 box is at 73 after 7. On lane 17, he's on the 1-3 pocket. He drops 6. He's left with the inverted left side check mark. That's the 2, the 4, the 5, and the 7 pins. Here at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire, you're watching the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour Wildcard Weekend, the playoff matches, the first round of the Class B North playoff rounds. If you tuned in last night, you saw Eric Hawley Sr. and Steve Kelly. Eric Hawley Sr. is the one who advances past the first round. JJ will take another 10 box, his third 10 box in a row. Perfect after 4 boxes. He's at 83 after 8. And he's off to the races. He is up against Rob Brown's 90 after 8 with 2 boxes to go. And it looks like a random bowling ball just came ejected out of lane 18 on the right side gutter for some reason. Not sure how that happened. Apparently the right side gutter is also a ball return channel. So JJ has 2 boxes to go. He has to get to 108 or higher to tie or win the first game. And I am told that the way these playoff matches work is that it is just down to final scratch total. So we will focus a little less on the points today and talk more about the final total. So JJ chops a bit of wood out, no spare. It's the 2, the 4, and the 7 pins for Tourigny that he's shooting at. He'll take a 9 box after all is said and done. That's 92 after 9 for Tourigny. And he's going to need a mark to take the first game, or at least remain on pace with Rob Brown. It's not an entire runaway, but it's an uncharacteristic low game for JJ Tourigny, all things said and done. Rob Brown has risen to the occasion here when it comes to that. And JJ on the head pin. Gets a rather awkward leave, the 5 and the 3 are what he has to shoot at for a spare. On lane 17. It's JJ Tourigny on lane 17 on the left in the gray shirt, shooting for a spare versus the 3-5. He hits the 5, misses the 3. And that will be the first game for Rob Brown officially, mathematically. JJ for the 10 box. 9 or 10, 91 or 101 or 102. He'll take a 102 in the first game, 10 box. Rob Brown takes the first game by 6. 108 to 102. Game 1 of 5. We still have 4 games to go. Plenty of action here to go on this wild card weekend at the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. 2 other matches are scheduled this weekend. Tomorrow we have Joe Rushlow versus John Alosa at Boutwell's Bowling Center. And then we also have Kevin Dietrich versus Dominic Palladino at Riverwalk. Those matches are on Sunday. I will be covering the match tomorrow between Rushlow and Alosa at Boutwell's at about 11 a.m. tomorrow. So stay tuned. Same place, slightly different time, slightly different date. Anyways, that's going to be Rob Brown starting out the second game. After finishing with a 108, his first opening ball is a 7 drop. The 1, the 7, and the 9 pins are on the deck. First spare. Should be a layup if he can connect with the 1. But he takes the 1 and the 7 when the ball comes around and doesn't take the 9. Believe it or not, I think that was just bad luck on Rob Brown's part. Rob Brown doesn't take the 9. He'll finish with a 9 box for the first frame of the second game. 9 after 1 for Rob Brown. He finished the first game with 108. JJ finished the first game with 102. You're watching the ACST. I'm Steve Kelly, and that's Rob Brown out there, and that's JJ Tourigny off screen. Good as always to have you along. Thanks for watching. Saturday morning, grab a coffee, grab a mimosa, I don't know, grab something. Sit down and watch. That's a 6 drop for Rob Brown. 1, 2, 7, 10 is what he has to shoot at. Misses the object pin, leaves only the object pin. That seems to be the theme of the day so far. He's left with only the head pin. Shooting for a 10 box, 9 or 10, and he's going to just slightly miss the head pin for a 9 box for Rob Brown. That's 2 9s in a row, 18 after 2. With 3 boxes to go before Rob Brown sits. Let's talk about some fun stats about Rob Brown. Only 3 of his matches in the regular season ever totaled below 500. He's guaranteed at least 1 strike per match. He's bowled 5 out of 18 regular season matches totaling over 550, and 15 out of 18 bowled over 500. And that's Rob Brown missing the spare opportunity, the 3 and the 7 on the deck. In his past 5 matches, Rob Brown took 53 points. That is that's a 14-point improvement from the previous 5. 8 box for Rob Brown in the third, 26 after 3. He has 8 out of 18 matches in the regular season with a double-digit take-home. That's usually considered pretty big in terms of overall positioning and whatnot. Rob Brown's current average as of round 18 is nearly at its peak after several dips throughout the season, so we are effectively seeing peak Rob Brown for performance right now, which is great for playoff matches. Rob Brown versus the 10 pin, no spare. He just narrowly missed the spare, but he'll take a 10 box. That's the best box of the game so far. 36 after 4 for Rob Brown. Rob Brown performs significantly better when away compared to home in terms of raw numbers, by a factor of more than 2, believe it or not. His longest streak of matches over 500 is 8, between round 11 to round 18. Per home match, he averages 4.56 points. Per away match, he averages 9.78 points, and there's a spare for Rob Brown. That's a great one to sit on. That's 46 after 5, plus a ball that he'll sit on. Very similar story to the first game, actually, come to think of it. We'll be saying hello once again to JJ for the first time in the second game here at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. It's great to have you along at this Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour Class B North playoff match. We actually got a pretty decent audience here right now. We got people just kind of trickling in. So hope we have a great digital audience. We have a great physical audience, and I think it's going to be great, and I hope you're enjoying this match. I'm Steve Kelly, and that's JJ Tourigny out there now in the gray shirt on lane 18 at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. JJ Tourigny, this season, in the regular season, he hasn't bowled a series below 518. He has the 9th high single in the B class at 150. That's a 6 drop by JJ Tourigny. The 8-9-1-3, and he'll take out the 8-9-1-3 for a spare. Very well-calibrated spare ball by JJ Tourigny. It's a surprisingly difficult spare to get, believe it or not, because you have to consider the pins in the front and the pins in the back. JJ Tourigny filling a spare. Off to the right, but a generous drop. He drops 6 and fills that spare with 6. 16 after 1 for JJ Tourigny. The left side 4 horsemen. 1, 3, 4, 7. He takes out the 4, leaving the 1, 3, 7. Missing the object pocket. JJ Tourigny for the 10 box. 7, 8, 9, or 10 box is the possibility here, and he takes everything but the head pin for a 9 box. That's 25 after 2 for Mr. Tourigny. Compare that to Rob Brown's 18 after 2 at the same point in the match. JJ Tourigny is number 4 in total spares in the B class at that staggering number I mentioned earlier, 227. He has the 5th high series in the B class at 634. He has the 6th most strikes in the B class at the end of the regular season at 58 strikes. It's a 5 drop for Tourigny, leaving almost an inversion of the previous shot. It was the 4 horseman right side and the 8 pin. He takes out only the head pin on the spare shot, leaving the 3, 6, 8, and 10 pins. And he'll take out 1 more, leaving the 7, leaving the 3, 6, 10. 7 box for JJ Tourigny. That's 32 after 3 for Mr. Tourigny. Appreciate you watching this quarterfinal ACST playoff match. If you wouldn't mind liking, commenting, subscribing, ringing that bell, sharing, I don't know, do something about that. It would be great to help grow this sport and make the ACST even better and better as we go along. We are at the end of another great season here. We're in the playoff matches. JJ dropping everything but the 9, the 10 with some wood in front of the 9, the 10. He wanted to play the wood at an angle, but he ends up missing it. So he's shooting for a 10 box now, and that was precisely what he was worried about, hitting the piece of wood and deflecting the ball away from the 10 pin. But he'll take a 9 box. That's 41 after 4 for JJ Tourigny with 1 to go before he sits. If you got a nice mark here, that would put him in good pacing against Rob Brown's open 46 after 5. But let's find out. Tourigny, lane 18. A little off to the right of the head pin, but still connects with the head pin regardless, just kind of kissing it a little bit, but he drops 9, leaving the 2 pin on the deck. Single pin spare opportunity for JJ. Pin's falling late. Very lucky 9 drop. He'll go for the spare, and he will get that spare, so he'll conclude the half with an open 51. 51 plus a ball for JJ Tourigny versus 46 plus a ball for Rob Brown. And now, the thrilling conclusion of the second game for Rob Brown as he takes the approaches of lane 17 at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. I'm Steve Kelly. That's Rob Brown in the maroon shirt. Rob Brown coming all the way up here from Amesbury, Massachusetts at Riverwalk. Rob Brown's opening ball, a fill ball in lane 17. It's on the pocket. He drops 7. 7 fill to conclude that spare of the first half. That puts him at 53 after 5. And it's a difficult spare shot. It was the 6-7-10. He plays the wood on the 6-10, leaves the 7. Shooting for a 10 box, piece of wood across the 7, and he'll get it. That's a 10 box. He'll leave no pins behind. That's 63 after 6 for Mr. Brown. Rob Brown's past 5 matches yielded him a decent spare performance. He had 51 spares in the past 5 matches. That's plus 5 from the previous set of 5, so that's definitely a marked improvement for Rob Brown. He drops 5, spread eagle minus the 7 pin, 2, 3, 4, 6, 10. He takes out the 3 and the 6, leaving the 2, the 4, and the 10 pins. So no spare for Rob Brown, but he'll shoot for a 10 box, 2, 4, 10. And he'll take a 9 box, and we got to pause for a brief score correction on the automatic score system, but it should work out to 72 after 7, I believe, if I've been following it correctly at least. And that is correct. JJ just updated the score system, and that's where we're at. So, cool. Always like to see that. The last time Rob Brown faced JJ Tourigny, way back in round 8 of the ACST, he only took 2 points. He had a 549 series, he had 2 strikes, 11 spares, and 12 tens. That was the story for Rob Brown the last time these 2 gentlemen met in the ACST. Rob Brown left with the 3-6-7. No spare, he's shooting for some kind of salvage mission. He'll take a 9 box. 81 after 8, by the looks of it. Most recently, in the regular season, Rob Brown faced John Alosa, there we go, in round 18. He took 13 points against John Alosa with 5 strikes, 12 spares, and 7 tens. He threw a 580 series, that was his all-time high. Second time reaching it this season, actually. So he reached his all-time high twice. There's something commendable about that. Rob Brown versus the 1-5-10. What a shot this is going to be. Unfortunate leave, but that's Candlepin bowling for you. I believe that's going to be a 7 box for Rob Brown. But we'll pause because, again, we're having a bit of an issue with the automatic scoring system. So that 7 box is not a 7 box. Or it is a 7 box. Never mind. He just reset. Just waiting on the bowlers to confirm that. So that should be 88 after 9 for Rob Brown. After a somewhat hot start, he's only had 1 mark this game. He's off to the right of the head pin. He drops 5, 4 horsemen left side on the 10 pin. 1, 2, 4, 7, 10. And he's off the pocket to the left, leaving the 1 and the 10. So it looks like it's going to be a possible 98 game for Rob Brown if he can get this 10 box. But it's going to be 96 with that 8 box. He'll conclude with a 96 in the second game after that 108. JJ with 51 plus a ball with 5 boxes to go plus a fill. We'll see if JJ can match Rob Brown's 96. Nothing is ever guaranteed in Candlepin. You can ask me in my match last night. Both myself and Eric Hawley Sr. bowled at Lakeside last night, and Lakeside was not kind to either of us in terms of pin action or leaves or anything. I threw a markless game in which I hit the head pin frequently but didn't get a whole lot of action in general, and it's one of those things where, again, nothing is guaranteed in Candlepin. JJ drops 7. That's the 5-7-8 wiggly 5. A lot of wood around all 3 pins. If he really connects with effectively anything, that should take all 3 of these pins out for the spare. JJ will hit it, will cut it right across the center. So he'll fill his spare with 7, and then he'll take another spare on top of that. That's 68 plus a ball after 6 for Mr. Tourigny. And at this point in the match, JJ might be in position to take control of the total a little bit, but he punches hard. That's a 5-drop spread eagle minus the 10 for JJ Tourigny. JJ Tourigny has a 2-way tie for the 9th highest perfect box percentage in the B class at 53. JJ chops 1 more piece of wood out, leaving the 2, 3, 4, and 7 pins on the deck. And for the salvage mission, JJ will take an 8-box. 81 after 7. At this point, he just has to get to effectively 97 to take the second game against Rob Brown. Again, in the playoff matches, if I have things understood correctly, it is all about the final scratch total. So it's less about the points, less about the games, more about the final scratch total. JJ drops 5. 4 horsemen right side in the 9 pin. 1, 2, 6, 9, 10. For a spare, he's a little bit too full in the head pin, taking out just the 1 and the 9, leaving the 3, 6, 10. 7, 8, 9, or 10 box for JJ Tourigny. And he'll leave the 10 pin for a 9 box to put him at 90 after 8 versus Rob Brown's 96. 2 boxes to go. In the past 5 matches, JJ Tourigny took 46 points. That's a deficit of 5 from the previous set of 5. I'm partially to blame for that one. JJ has 14 out of 18 matches in the regular season where he's totaled over 550. And 18 out of 18 matches totaling over 500. He has 14 out of 18 matches in which he took a double-digit point take-home. And here's JJ Tourigny on lane 17. Off the headpin to the left. And that's a smattering of an almost washout, but not quite. 1, 5, 3, 8, 9, 10, 6 is what he has to shoot at. No wood, and JJ just sculpting an interesting leave out there after 2 balls. 1, 5, 8, 9, 10. This is a salvage mission for a 10 box, and he'll nearly do it, but he'll leave the 5 pin. That's a 9 box for Mr. Tourigny. 99 after 9. He will take the second game, but he'll go to war for it. A 3 mark 99 for JJ Tourigny in the 9th of the second game here. Let's see what he can do for the 10th and final box of the second game. JJ Tourigny, he has a 5-match streak of matches over 550 in terms of the series total from round 8 to round 12. JJ Tourigny's peak season average was 115.5. He's shooting at the 6, 7, 10 now for the spare, and the wood doesn't want to play nice. He will take out only the 7 pin despite shooting at the 6-10 wood. And the 6-10 is all he has left to shoot at. For an 8, 9, or 10 box, he'll take a 9 box. And he'll finish with a 108, flipping the script. So Rob Brown had a 108 in the first game. JJ Tourigny has a 108 in the second game. Both bowlers taking 1 game apiece so far. The difference in the total is just 6. JJ has it at the moment. So this is a competitive match for sure. 3 games to go in this Class B playoff round. Still anyone's game. It comes down to the 5th and final game, especially if it remains close and competitive. That's what we like to see at the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour.
You're too quiet. You don't yell wow and stuff. You need to do that.
Ryan's saying I need to yell wow a little more often. We'll see if we can work that in.
You need to yell some stuff. You're being too quiet.
We'll try to warm up the vocal cords and try to yell a bit if things get exciting. Rob Brown dropping 5 and almost taking everything out but the 7 pin on lane 18.
On Winchell, are you going to be around Friday night?
Maybe. Yeah, we'll see what's going on that
Just
night.
message him and see if you want to do the match on Friday
Sure.
at Exeter.
Exeter? Okay. we'll see what. Yeah,
6:30.
yeah. I'll check my calendar and see what's going on with that. Anyways, that's a 10 box for Rob Brown to open up the third game.
I don't know if he's already has ball or not, so that's why I'm waiting.
And Rob Brown will punch a little bit full on the head pin. The spread eagle minus the 3. That's the 2, 4, 6, 7, 10 with a piece of wood across the 2. And maybe if he plays the wood, it can go, and it almost plays nice. It was the right idea. That piece of wood that careened to the left just needed a little bit more force to take out the 4 and the 7. And Rob Brown will take another 10, the second 10 in a row in the third game for 20 after 2. He did the best he could absolutely do with the leave he got. Rob Brown's home house is Riverwalk Lanes in Amesbury, Massachusetts. Rob Brown throws a very hard and fast ball. He works at DoorDash. Had some interesting, funny stories from Rob Brown about some of the things he's been asked to DoorDash. Let me tell you, ask him about it one of these days. Rob appears to be ambidextrous when it comes to bowling. I've seen him bowl both righty and lefty. At Riverwalk Lanes, Rob Brown dropping 9 for the single pin spare, and he'll take a spare, adding another one to his total for today. That's his 5th spare of the match. That's 30 plus a ball after 3. Rob Brown perfect this game so far, and then some in the third. 234 to 210 is the total at the moment with Rob Brown a couple of boxes ahead of JJ at this point, so we'll circle back to that once we get to the 5th box. Rob Brown filling that spare with 6, an awkward accordion fold. 5, 6, 9, 10. Not much he could have done with that. He takes out only the 9 and the 9 and only the 9. Only the 9 and only the 9. 5, 6, 10 he's shooting at for a 10 box. He chops another one out for an 8 box. Awkward leave, awkward box. It's one of those boxes where you can't do a whole lot with it. 44 after 4 for Rob Brown is where we stand with 1 to go before he sits. This is his best half so far. Best first half so far, at least. Rob Brown on the head pin, and there's a strike by Rob Brown. I was waiting to see when the strikes were going to come in because I know he bowls them a lot. That's 54 plus a fill for Rob Brown. After 2.5 games, Rob Brown is at 258. And we'll see where JJ Tourigny lands. JJ Tourigny currently needs to attain 48 pins to reach that half. Or reach that total, I mean. And at the half, technically. So that's JJ Tourigny in the gray on lane 18 at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire in this Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour Class B North Playoff round. And JJ will drop 7, the 1-2-5 are on the deck for a spare shot. At the aim at the 1 pin, and he'll miss the 1 to the right. He didn't want to play the wood, I know that, because that probably wouldn't have gone the way he thought it was going to go. So he's going to shoot for a 10 box, and he'll leave the 5 pin. That pesky 5 pin stays. That's a 9 box for Tourigny to open up. The chase is on. JJ with 9 after 1, Rob Brown with 10 after 1 here in the third. Rob Brown taking the first game, JJ taking the second game. Fairly close match. JJ firing off to the right of the head pin, dropping 6, dropping 7, 1, 9, 10 are what's left after the pins slowly fall. Not a lot of wood that's necessarily helpful, but we'll see how he can spin it. He has to hit the head pin in some way, and he hits it a little bit too full, leaving just the 10 pin. So it's going to be a 9 or a 10 box for Mr. Tourigny. JJ fires. It's going to be a 9 box. Second 9 in a row for JJ. 18 after 2 for JJ Tourigny. JJ Tourigny's peak season average was 115.5 back in round 16 in the regular season, so it dipped a little bit after that. Last time JJ Tourigny faced Rob Brown in round 8, he took 12 points with a 632 series with 5 strikes, 16 spares, and 11-10. That was the last time these two gentlemen met. JJ dropping 6, the 3-6, 4-7. The 3-6 pocket is the object pocket. JJ shoots for that pocket, but a little bit to the left of it. Sailing just through the center. So now he's going to be aspiring for a 10 box. And he'll play the wood and get 75% of the way there. That was an interesting 9-box by JJ. I wasn't expecting him to get that many given what he hit, but that's a 9-box. Third 9 in a row, 27 after 3. Perfect 9s for JJ. 2 to go before he sits. He has to get to 54 plus a ball to match Rob Brown's first half of the third game here at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire on lanes 17 and 18. JJ dropping 9, leaving only the 6-pin. Piece of wood lined up right where he effectively needs it. Unless something goes horribly wrong, playing the wood or hitting the pin directly should be plenty enough for a spare. JJ fires, and he gets it. That's a spare. Just as planned. That's a spare for Tourigny. 37 plus a ball for JJ Tourigny. So JJ filling a spare. This might have been the break he needed. Recently, in the regular season, JJ faced Paul Mativier in round 18 at Leda Lanes. JJ on the head pin, fills that spare with 8. Gets an explosion of pins, leaving the 6 and the 10. In JJ's match against Paul Mativier, he took 3 points with a 522 series with 2 strikes, 8 spares, and 10 tens. It was his second lowest series total this season. JJ misses the spare. He misses the 6-10 with wood. JJ for the 8, 9, or 10 box, and he'll take a 9 box. For 54, after 5, that's equal with Rob Brown, but might I remind you, Rob Brown is on a strike, so that's 54 plus a ball for Rob Brown. So that's where we stand at the moment. The current totals are 258 to 264. JJ leading the match by just 6 at this point. Rob Brown slowly clawing back that deficit. Rob Brown's first ball off the strike fill is a left side washout, the 1-5-3, 9-10-6. One more ball before we actually count the fill. Rob Brown will fill that strike with 10. So that's a 10 fill on the strike. And a spare. So that should be 74. Plus a ball for Rob Brown. Rob Brown filling that spare. He's off to the left of the head pin, but still a generous drop. That's a 7 fill for Rob Brown, his 3rd mark of the game. The only box he's thrown that wasn't a 10 or higher was the 4th, which was an 8 box. He's shooting for the 1-2-4, and he just misses the head pin by just a hair. For a 9 or 10 box, Rob Brown's shooting for a 10. He'll take that 10 for 91 after 7. Rob Brown has suddenly come alive here in the third game. 3 mark 91 after 7 in the third, with 295 total thus far. Rob Brown wasting no time. He fires again, but he's off to the left of the head pin this time. The ball is kind of wavering to the right or the left across some of these boxes. It's a left side washout. He shoots for the spare, hits a little bit too full on the center, leaving just the 3, 6, 10. For a 7, 8, 9, or 10 box, Rob Brown will take a 9 box for 60. Oops, not 63. One moment. For 100 after 8. 100 after 8 for Mr. Rob Brown. Rob Brown again with a season record in the regular season of 129 and 123. That was after 18 matches. 18 great matches of the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. Finished with a 1.04 win-loss ratio. He drops 8. The 6-9. Rob Brown versus the 6-9. Nice. He gets a spare. Another spare. His 4th mark of the game. 110 plus a ball. Rob Brown getting hot. And again, the playoff matches are all about final scratch totals, so marks and fills like this are huge when it comes to this. Rob Brown on lane 17 on the pocket once again. That's a 7 fill, leaving the 2-5-7. Versus the 2-5-7 for a spare. That's another spare for Rob Brown. That's at 127. Plus a ball for Rob Brown here in the third game.
Somebody's warming up.
Rob Brown's at 5 marks. Rob Brown was complaining about these 2 lanes earlier, and now I think he's definitely not He's rescinding those comments now. That's a 3 fill for Rob Brown. He'll finish with 130. Bit of a misfire on that final fill, but still, regardless, it's an excellent 5-mark 130 by Rob Brown. JJ has his work cut out for him with a closed 54 half. On lane 17 at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire, I'm Steve Kelly. Thank you for watching this Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour match. Be sure to strike, comment, and subscribe. Ring that bell however way you want to do it. Please help us spread the ACST to make it bigger and better every year, every month, every day, every hour. And speaking of on the hour, at this hour we have JJ Tourigny dropping 6. That's the 6, 7, 9, 10. On lane 17 at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. 6, 7, 9, 10. He's on the wood, plays the object wood to the best of his ability, takes out everything with a 7-pin. I don't know if I would have played it any differently other than maybe just angles. But JJ shooting at just a 7-pin for a 10 box. He'll take a 9 box. Ryan Southall remarks, safest pin in the building. Recently covered JJ Tourigny and Ryan Southall and their Team Riverwalk in the Friday Night Pro League recently. You can check that out on Candlepin Bowling Network. That match was streamed by myself, and it was an exciting match. They ended up scoring enough points to move on to the first round of the playoffs, in which they had to play a 1-string roll-off against Metro Bowl, and they succeeded against Metro Bowl. But then Academy ended up kind of pile driving them a little bit. So if you want to see the results of that, check out Candlepin Bowling Network and the Friday Night Pro League. And the finals in particular. That's JJ Tourigny shooting for a 10 box, the 1 and the 10 on lane 17. He'll take a 9 box. He hit it right, but sometimes that just doesn't go. It's 72 after 7 for Mr. Tourigny. 3 boxes to go. He has to reach 130 or better to stay on pace with Rob Brown. And again, it's less about the points and more about the total. So while you might see a points counter here on the scoreboard, just try to put it out of your mind a little bit. Just think more about the total and the differentials. That's what we focus on today. So JJ Tourigny. JJ's home lanes are Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. JJ has a couple of fun official and unofficial nicknames. I've heard to him referred to as Double J. I like to call him Flying J, or JJ the Grand Tour Tourigny, or the Grand Tourigny if you are so inclined, accurately reflecting his performance in the regular season of the ACST. An awkward smattering of pins and an awkward second ball. No spare for JJ shooting for a 10 box. It's the 2, the 4, the 9, and the 10 box. Not 10 pins, that is. And he'll clean up for a 10. That was a very pretty 10 box by JJ. 82 after 8. I'll never say anything is impossible until it actually is. But unless he throws a 4-bagger, I think there's going to be quite a bit of pins ceded to Rob Brown at this point. JJ needs marks here. He's on the head pin on lane 17, and he nearly does that. Drops 9, 7 pin, the quote-unquote safest pin in the house. We'll see if JJ can defy that expectation that Ryan Southall in the audience set. JJ versus the 7 pin here at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. And he plays the wood, and the wood spins, is rolling, still moving. That was a case of maybe, but the 7 pin is protected against that spare shot. He'll take a 9, and that will be the 3rd game for Rob Brown. Because at this point, I think it is mathematically impossible. 91 after 9 for JJ Tourigny versus Rob Brown's 117 after 9 at the same point in the match. With a triple strike, JJ can get to 121, but that's not enough to beat the 130 at this point. On average, and based on my research, JJ tends to have 3 to 4 really high-powered strings per match, with only 1 or 2 weird low-scoring outlier games. So it's very possible at this point that this is the game that we're witnessing in terms of that statistic. JJ Tourigny took a break from bowling for about a decade. He moved out to California, went to Santa Rosa Junior College and Manchester School of Technology. He was in the U.S. Army and the California National Guard. Thank you for your service, JJ. That's a 10 box for JJ Tourigny, finishing at 101 in the third game. And the totals at this point are Rob Brown 334, JJ Tourigny 311. Rob Brown up in the match by 23 at this point.
John Elizabeth just messaged me that.
Well, if you wanna.
Tell me that. You'll get banned.
Saying hi to John Alosu, who apparently messaged Ryan Southall, who showed me. It said Ryan Southall should get into color commentary. And I said, hey, if you wanna. He's standing right next to me. No time like the present to start a commentating career. Anyways, we'll move on to the fourth game here at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. So in case you missed it, the totals currently stand at JJ at 311, Rob Brown at 334. Rob Brown has the match total by 23 at this point in the game. That's Rob Brown opening up on lane 18. Rob Brown, our away bowler today from Amesbury, Massachusetts, Riverwalk. He washes out shallowly the right side, just the 6-9-10. Rob Brown for the spare. He's off the left of the head pin, leaving the 1 and the 3 on the deck. For a 10 box, Rob Brown shooting for a 10 box, and he's off to the left. He'll take an 8. Might have gotten the yips on that one. That's 8 after 1 for Rob Brown. Rob Brown, his father is in the audience. Had a nice conversation with him earlier, talking about some of the older days of Candlepin bowling. Some of the older iterations of the ACST, talking about Pilgrim Lanes and the old Channel 5 show and everything. That's a strike by Rob Brown, by the way. Everything falling except one of the pins that falls late, but a late falling 10th pin is always one of the sweetest ones. That's a strike for Rob Brown.
Steve. How the hell do you deal with this?
Very carefully.
How the hell do you even work this thing?
A lot of buttons, a lot of prepping, a lot of planning, a lot of...
Jesus.
It's quite a bit. Rob Brown on the second strike. Will he get a double? He'll drop 9, leaving the 5 pin. He still has 1 to go before we count the fill. Piece of wood in front of the 5 pin. It's out a little out front. Let's see if he can play it. And he will. It'll come around and take it. That's a 10 fill on the strike and a spare on strike for Rob Brown. 38 plus a ball after 3 for Mr. Brown.
He's wearing a red shirt, too. It's supposed to be a hex.
So Rob Brown filling a spare on strike. On the head pin again. It's a repeat. It's a deja vu. He drops all but the 5 pin. That's a 9 fill on the strike. And my goodness, that's 47 after 3. For the spare, will he get it again? And Rob Brown with another spare. 57 plus a ball after 4.
You don't, obviously.
JJ remarking, Rob Brown wants it bad. And at this point, based on just the numbers with no bias, I can't argue with that argument. Rob Brown filling a spare on strike. And once again, that's a strike on spare.
You could have done that.
Wow. That's worth a wow, I'll say. That's
First ball you threw it.
all right. I believe that is 77 plus a fill for Rob Brown after 5. An incredible first half of the 4th game for Rob Brown. After a nice warm-up first 2 games, Rob Brown has caught fire here. 77 half plus a ball. The die is cast. Would you believe Rob Brown was complaining about being put on these 2 lanes at Leda Lanes? I bet he's forgetting all about that right about now. Anyway, let's say hi to JJ Tourigny on lane 18. Opening out, washing out the right side. That's a 5 drop. That is the 4 horseman right side plus the 9 pin on the deck for Mr. JJ Tourigny. 1, 2, 4, 7, 9 on the deck. He will take out the left side 4 horsemen, leaving only the 9 with a piece of wood across the 9, but it's diagonal. JJ for the 10 box. He'll take a 10, starting out with a 10, not missing
He
anything.
already started better than Rob this game. Now just do the same thing he did.
And at this point, I can say JJ is ahead of Rob in the first box of the 4th game. So he pulls ahead for 1 box. Let's see if he can continue that streak. JJ firing on the head pin, dropping 9. Hey, he almost rose to the occasion there.
What you want to do.
He has a spare leave on the 7 pin. No wood to help him. It's just a straight shot on the left side, single pin spare, 7 pin. JJ fires. He doesn't get a gutter ball, but doesn't hit the 7 pin at the same time. He threads the needle between the gutter and the 7 pin. for the 10 box. He'll shoot, he'll score. Second 10 in a row for JJ Tourigny. Perfect so far. 20 after 2 for JJ Tourigny. I'm going to remind you, Rob Brown had a 77 half. 4 marks, excuse me. JJ on lane 18 on the head pin. Dropping 7. Excellent first ball for JJ. So far, he's dead on the head pin for these first balls, and sometimes that's about all you can hope for. Sometimes it's Candlepin bowling. You'll sometimes get a strike. You'll sometimes get a split. Drop 7, 3, 6, 10. For the spare. Slightly off to the right. He was going for the 3-6 pocket. Wanted to play the wood. A little bit too much to the right. Just for the 3 pin. For the 10 box, JJ will take a 9. 29 after 3 for JJ Tourigny. Say double strike will probably put him right back in this match. Rob Brown with 3 strikes, 10 spares. JJ with 0 strikes and 5 spares for the match so far. JJ on lane 18 at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire in this playoff match. The Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour, he drops 8, leaving the, oh my goodness, the goalposts, the 4 and the 6. Piece of wood across the 6 pin. Slightly at an angle. See if we can get a nice pretty shot with this. He'll play the 6. He'll take only the 6. Not really any angle action going on there. For a 9 or 10 box for Mr. Tourigny, he'll take a 9 box. 38 after 4 for Flyin' J. With 1 to go before we sit and welcome Rob Brown back to the approaches of Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. JJ Tourigny dropping 7 on the head pin again. The 5-7-8. This is the 5-7-8, the Matt Susi special plus DLC. 7-8-5. Got to play the 5 pin in some way. He'll play the 8 pin, leaving the 5 and the 7. Excuse me, this isn't the Matt Susi special. This is the left side setback plus DLC. Now it's just the left side setback. JJ versus the 5-7. He'll leave the 5-7, take an 8. He'll finish the half at 46. Rob Brown, 77 plus a ball at the half. And at the moment, 3.5 games. The totals are 411 to 357. Rob Brown up by 54. That is your score update and the totals update in this important first round of the playoffs of the ACST Class B North. The totals are at the moment 411 to 357. He's up by 54. Yep. Rob Brown filling a strike. Lane 17 wildly off to the right of the head pin. But it doesn't count as a fill until the second ball. Rob Brown. I believe that's only 2 so far. Rob Brown following up on the 1-3 pocket. Much better ball as an 8 fill on the strike. So that's an 85 half for Rob Brown. And that's a 9 box. About the best he could have done with that. 94 after 6. Rob Brown pulling ahead here in the 4th game after a monstrous first half. A 4-mark first half of the 4th game. We'll see where this goes. Thank you for watching. I'm Steve Kelly back here. That's Rob Brown down there. Rob Brown to the right of the head pin. Dropping 7, 1, 2, 4. Spare leave if you can connect with the 1-2 pocket. Rob Brown on the 1. Oh, I thought it was on the 1-2 pocket. A little bit too full on the 1 pin. It looked good for at least halfway down the lane. Then it made a abrupt straight correction. So we'll take a 9 box.
Rob, it didn't register the second ball.
It's 103 after 7. We'll just pause for a quick lane maintenance.
Yeah, because he had a 7, they gave him an 8. They never gave him
The 6 box is wrong too.
the 6 box is wrong too.
Yeah, he should have a 94.
Oh, yeah.
6.
Steve will fix it. He's good. He gave you this, but you had a 9, didn't you? AJ's supposed to be keeping score.
Okay, sorry for the delay there. Just helping out with the automatic score correction there. The automatic scoreboard is inconsequential, but it's always nice just to have a bit of a sync between everything here. So just double check. So we're at 103 after 7.
That counts, right?
How they count that?
And
Really in fucking line for the approach, but I was standing up there. So
Still counts,
I think it still counts. Pretty sure
still counts.
counts.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, it counts as the first ball.
How about when you do that and it goes flying backwards, you don't count it then? I've seen that happen.
sorry about that. Still just fixing a couple things with the scoreboard here. So Rob Brown will drop 8 and then take out the 1 and the 10. And that should be a spare. Bear with me 1 second while I just put that in. And we'll pause just to make sure it is what it says it is, because I believe it should be 113 plus a ball after 8, but just double check. Excuse me, it's a 10 box for Rob Brown, not a spare. Rob Brown corrected that to be a 10 box. Rob Brown dropping 9. Everything but the 6 falls. Single pin spare opportunity for Rob Brown.
But my ties are my
And he'll miss the single pin 6 pin spare shot. He's shooting for a 10. That's a 9 box. 122 after 9 is where we stand for Rob Brown after letting the dust settle after just syncing up our scores. My apologies, that got a little bit confusing. Just a couple things that happened physically here we just had to go over. So don't blame me, I'm just the streamer. So Rob Brown dropping 7, 179 on the deck. For the spare. And he'll take out just the head pin, oddly enough, leaving the 7 and the 9 pins unharmed. For the 10 box, he's going to take a 9. And I will double check these scores. We'll go up to the paper copy in just a moment, but I believe that is 131 for Rob Brown and a really hot 131. Here, Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire after 4. And I can confirm that is a confirmed 131 for Rob Brown. Just want to make sure I just walked up to the paper copy to validate. JJ Tourigny on lane 17. JJ in the gray on lane 17. That's the left lane of the 2-lane pair we're on today. JJ dropping 6. Missing the headpin to the right. 1, 2, 4, 8 is what he has to shoot at. It's a bouquet of pins. The 1-2 pocket will take this out. JJ will sail to the right of the 1-2 pocket, but still enough of an angle to take a spare. JJ needs to have a monster half to catch up to Rob Brown. It's not impossible. You definitely can get a 130 game out of a bad half and a good half. Sometimes it's all about the halves in Candlepin bowling if you're bowling 5 boxes at a time. The Friday Night Pro League is 2 boxes at a time. The ACST format is 5 boxes at a time. JJ will fill that spare with 7. Awkward split. Connected with the head pin, but left with the 3, 4, 6. 3-6 pocket will take this out for a spare. JJ for the spare, and the 3 pin almost cuts across. Not quite enough to take out the 4 pin. So JJ shooting for a 10 box here. He'll take a 9. 72 after 7 for JJ. Looks like the score system didn't count the 3rd ball. JJ just caught it. He just said it didn't register, so. But it is 72 after 7 for JJ. So at least the score's right. So once again, we're going to pause for some lane maintenance. Let's talk about Leda Lanes while we're just waiting here. So Leda Lanes, same age as Lakeside Lanes, established in 1959. 36 lanes, all wood approaches, all wood lanes, featuring Kegler's Den, awesome bar with awesome people, awesome food, plenty of drinks, great atmosphere, tons of TVs. If you want to watch a sport, come over to Kegler's Den at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. It's a great environment. Plenty of things to do at Leda Lanes, poker, karaoke, cornhole, indoor and outdoor. In fact, Hickler's Den set up its outdoor environment for the summer. That's a 9-box for JJ Tourigny. What more can I tell you about Leda Lanes? So, as we've been talking about, there's a new automatic scoring system at Leda Lanes, Cubica AMF BES. It's the same score system found in other alleys such as Portsmouth Bolorama, and it was at Park Place Lanes before Park Place Lanes closed. Leda Lanes actually inherited a lot of the equipment that came out of Park Place Lanes' closure. And JJ will drop 8. That's the 5-8 on the deck. The 5-8 on lane 17. He'll shoot, he'll score. That's a spare for JJ Tourigny. 91 plus a ball after 9 for JJ. JJ working on a 63 total deficit at this point. He can possibly get 40 if he can get a triple strike here. So, you know, not impossible. Never saying it's impossible. It's all about the total. So think less about the game and more about the total. JJ off to the left of the head pin. That's a 4 fill. Half Worcester plus some friends. 1, 3, 6, 9, 4, 7. JJ on the pocket. That was a pretty spare, making up for it. That's another spare for JJ. That's 105 plus a ball. JJ just trying to reduce the deficit at this point. 131 to 105 plus a ball. Rob Brown taking the 4th game, but JJ just trying to recoup some losses here on lane 17 at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. JJ filling the spare. Final ball of the 4th frame is a 7 fill. That should put him at 112. 112 after 4. That is confirmed. 4 game totals so far. JJ Tourigny at 423. Rob Brown at 465, up by 42 with 1 game to go. 3 strikes to Rob Brown's name today. Is JJ yet to throw a strike? Rob Brown at 10 spares. JJ at 8 spares. 45? I mean the deficit.
Yeah. Really? Deficit, yeah.
465 to 423? Just double checking on some numbers. I'm at.
He had it at 26 wins, so he just lost by 19, right?
Yeah, in this game, yeah.
But he had it at 26 before that.
Okay. I'll double check. So we might have a bit of a score sync between the paper copy and my copy.
423.
That's what I got. Yep, that's what I got. Okay. Okay, nope, total is correct. They were just redoing the math, and sometimes we just have to just validate a little
42?
bit. Should be 42, yeah. A little bit of sensory overload, sorry about that. But yes, we are good in terms of the totals and the scores. So Rob Brown, sorry, that was a 9 box to start out. First ball, the second box leaves the 8 and the 9, and somehow takes none of them. So shooting for a 9 or 10 box, and that will be a 9 box for Rob Brown. That's 18 after 2. We're back on it. 5th and final game. 42 is the deficit as of the 4th game. Rob Brown up by 42. Having a monstrous 4th game. Had a bit of a dip in the 1st and 2nd games, but the 3rd and 4th he more than made up for it. Rob Brown dropping 6, leaving the left side diamond, the 2, 4, 5, 8. Rob Brown on the diamond wins again. The 2 and the 5 pins are what he's shooting at for an 8, 9, or 10 box. And he'll take a 10. Hope this broadcast finds you well. Everyone involved here, from the bowlers to the staff you cannot see all around me, as well as all of our spectators and fans. Appreciate your viewership and interest in this live stream, as well as Candlepin Bowling as a whole. Rob Brown firing off to the left of the head pin this time. Left side, half Worcester plus an extra pin. So I do have a bit of a tangent about the half Worcester that I learned recently. Bit of a Candlepin history lesson. And I learned this from John Annaloro, who used to work at Park Place Lanes. And the story from John Annaloro, according to Dan Murphy, was the term half Worcester was coined during a Channel 5 TV tournament. The commentator at the time remarked after the split was thrown, quote, "He's already halfway back to Worcester because that's where the bowler was from and he was having a really off day." So anyways, that was a $5 for Rob Brown, excuse me. Just mentally replaying the box in my head. Another half Worcester for Rob Brown. Speaking of half Worcesters, takes a few more out. Rob Brown misfiring here a little bit on the spare. And he's salvaging for a 10 box, and he'll take a 9. Rob Brown finishing with a 42 half. Might have gotten the yips here a little bit. JJ might see an opportunity if he can get hot here with some marks. So 4.5 game total of 507 for Rob Brown at this point. If he has a hot second half, he might be nearing 600 for this series in this playoff match. JJ Tourigny has a lot of work to do, though, because he was down in the midpoint of this match, so he's going to have a lot of ground to make up here. JJ Tourigny, lane 18, Leda Lanes, slow dropping 9 drop. After all said and done, the 8 pin is what's left on the deck. Is the 8 pin with a piece of wood far out in front of the 8, right on the line of the deck and the wood of the lane, that is. And JJ will take it out for a spare. He'll open up the 5th game with a mark. Let's see, what more can I tell you about JJ Tourigny? So he went to the U.S. Army and California National Guard. He's married to Raylan Tourigny since 2015. His son Raymond is actually running around the alley right now. Said hi to him earlier. And JJ with a strike. I'm sorry, I'm slow on the draw here. JJ with a strike on spare. That might have been just what he needed to catch up with Rob Brown. He definitely needs these marks to make up the deficit here. Let's see if we can have a bit of a Cinderella story comeback here for the #1 seed of Class B North. JJ Tourigny has 2.7-pound Paramount bowling balls. He's been bowling since he was 7 years old. He took a decade off to go out to California, but then he came back to continue bowling at Leda Lanes. JJ's birthday is October 13th. He's won many trophies as a kid for singles, doubles, and teams tournaments. JJ dropped 6 on the first ball of the strike fill. JJ made the all-star team for leagues every year at Leda back in the old days. Some of his inspirations are Joe Ashline and Tom and Mike Morgan from the Candlepin TV days. That's an 8 fill after all said and done for JJ's strike fill, and there's a piece of wood way out of play down in the lane on lane 18. We're just hoping it maybe rolls out of play, but it looks like it's not going to. So Rob Brown will very generously go down to clear it. JJ Tourigny has also played baseball and basketball. JJ is a plumber at Denomi Plumbing. If you have questions about fixing sinks or toilets or washing machines or piping or water heaters or whatever it is, talk to JJ Tourigny about it. JJ will take a 9 box. 47 after 3 for JJ Tourigny, I believe. Just double checking, and yes, that is confirmed. Some more numbers about JJ in case you missed him earlier. I think the number of spares in particular is pretty staggering for JJ. Again, he's number 4 in total spares in the B class at 227. His 634 high series is the 5th in B class. And he hasn't bowled a series below 518, might I remind you, any point during the regular season. JJ punching hard. Just spread eagle. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, 10. 3-pin spread eagle. One of the more difficult versions of the eagle. JJ versus the eagle for the spare. He takes 3 more out. 2, 3, 6, 9 are what he's left to shoot at for a 10 box now. And for that 10 box, he'll take 8. So after a strike on spare, JJ's cooling off a little bit, but he's at 55 after 4 so far. And if he can get a strike, he might have a chance at this. Definitely could use the extra pins at this point. Deficit is down to about 29-ish. but we're at uneven points in the match. So it's still competitive. This isn't a runaway. It looked like it briefly in the 4th game. JJ on the head pin.
20 pins right now.
Dropping 8, 5-10, with a piece of wood that's yet to settle.
Let's go in. They got it.
That wood is not going to be a
Come
factor.
on over.
It's the right side setback, 5-10. Hitting the 5 at the right angle will take the 10 pin out. JJ versus the right side setback. He misses the 5 pin. Working on picking a stick for a 10 box. He could get a 65 half. He can get a 10 or a 64. But it will be 63 for an 8 box. 63 after 5
So it was
for JJ.
the beginning was 43.
It was 42, I think. It's 21 now.
So the difference is just 21 between Rob Brown and JJ Tourigny. This sounds familiar. If you watched last night's match between me and Eric Hawley Sr., at 4.5 games, the difference was about 28, if my memory serves. So this is actually very reminiscent to my match against Eric Hawley Sr., in which the away... Well, no, it wasn't the away home bowlers, but one bowler who was statistically doing better from the regular season stats actually greatly struggled. So this is actually kind of a similar story, but I won't say it until the very end in terms of who I think is going to win at this point, because as you see, Rob Brown can have explosive games, but so can JJ. So I won't rule either of these bowlers out. Rob Brown's struggling here. He'll take an 8 box. It's 50 after 6 for Rob Brown. I think if he doesn't get any marks in this game, that's going to definitely leave an open opportunity for JJ Tourigny. Rob Brown wasting no time. He's off to the head pin, off to the right of the head pin. He's left with, oh my goodness, the 1, 2, 4, 8, 6, 10. That's basically a right side half Worcester minus the 7 pin. He plays for the spare, almost gets it, leaves the 10 pin and the 10 pin only. And there's 2 pieces of wood in front of the 10 pin. They're stacked in front of one another, double buffered. But he'll hit them squarely on, and he'll take a 10 box. 60 after 7 for Rob Brown.
Why are you always yelling?
I don't know. I like yelling. 60 after 7 for Rob Brown. JJ Tourigny still up in the game by 3 at this point.
A low stick in here. You telling me he's a bum?
Ryan Southall would like me to announce that John Alosa is a bum. I don't know. Talk to him about it. Rob Brown dropping 6, 1, 2, 4, 8 on lane 17, and he'll take a spare. I said he'll take a spare. Had the strike symbol in my paste queue. 70 plus a ball after 8 for Rob Brown. Rob Brown on the spare fill. Misses to the right of the head pin, but drops 8. Late falling pin for 8 fill. This should be 78 after 8. Correct the automatic scoring system because a late falling pin isn't always counted on the cubic AMF system. Easy enough to fix at least. Rob Brown for the spare shot. He'll miss the object pin, take out the back row pin, leaving only the head pin in its wake. And he'll take a 9 box for 87 after 9. For Mr. Brown. So depending on what this 10th frame is, JJ could make a run at it and maybe still salvage this match. But we'll see. Again, this is very reminiscent of my match against Eric Hawley Sr. just last night. So Rob Brown punching out spread eagle, 4-pin spread eagle, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 10. Brown versus the eagle. And he'll take 3 pins out. He'll take half of it out. We have a mangled eagle on the deck. Someone call PETA. 2, 3, 4. He'll take a 7 box. Rob Brown calls an audible. That's a 94 5th game. That sets the stage. Rob Brown finishes with a 5-game total of 559 by my count with that 94. And now we have JJ, who has to make up a deficit of 73. So JJ needs a 74 half to take this match and move on to the next round of the playoffs. You can almost feel the tension in this room right now from JJ in particular. He knows this. So JJ starting out. On the headpin, dropping 7. The 4, 7, 8. And he is going to be shooting for a spare here. See what JJ can do. Getting a spare would be most helpful, and he hits the object pin, hitting the 4 and the 7, but the pin somehow stunts itself and doesn't take out the 8 pin. JJ for the 10 box, and he'll take a 9.
All right, get ready.
Ryan Southall remarking the wood screwed him a little bit, and I can't disagree to that. Excuse me, it's a 10 box, not a 9 box. 73 after 6 for JJ Tourigny. JJ off to the right of the head pin, drops 5. 4 horsemen left side in the 10 pin. 1, 2, 4, 7, 10. JJ Tourigny. High single 150, high series 634. Both the high single against Rob Brown in week 8 with that 150. JJ no spare here. Wood flying everywhere. But he leaves this 10 pin on the deck. No spare. JJ for the 10 box. He'll get that 10.
You can clear the gutter on both.
And he's at 83 after 7. With 3 to go.
Oh, it didn't even give me a 10 there either.
So JJ sits at a deficit of 53 that he needs to achieve in 3 boxes.
He needs 53.
53. Yeah. It's got to be marks the whole way down.
Yeah. JJ basically needs marks the whole way down. We were just talking off mic here. Here we go. Playoff bowling. Playoff Candlepin bowling. JJ Tourigny on the head pin, and my God, that was a shot. He was on the 1-3 pocket, and this reminds me of Lakeside Lanes a little bit. Hit the head pin and get something like this. 3, 6, 4, 5, 7, 10. And that is no spare for JJ. 6, 7, 10 on the deck for a 10 box. He will get a pretty 10 box, salvaging the 6, 7, 10 for a 10 box. 93 after 8 for JJ Tourigny. Deficit's now 43. And, so, you know what? I'll hold my comments till the end. Not always the best at math. JJ for the strike. He drops 9. He drops off with a 6 pin. Piece of wood almost takes the 6 pin out, but it doesn't quite do it. JJ versus the 6 pin for the spare. We'll take a spare. JJ taking the spare. Right side 6 pin spare.
Yeah, I think he's hit it once all year.
Hearing a really weird noise emanating out of the pin setter there just now. I don't know what that was all about. Oh, and I think I know why. The gate's down and the gate's stuck.
JJ, the gate's down.
JJ almost threw a ball. That motor noise we heard, I think, was the gate motor getting stuck. Because I heard that, and it sounded like a tractor backed up to the back of the building, and I think that was what we just heard. So, dramatic pause here at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. So, appreciate you watching this playoff match at Leda Lanes. Let's cut to B-roll a little bit. I have plenty to talk about here. So, anyways, we can talk about some special thanks across all of the ACST in this season in particular. So, just want to thank a couple of people in particular all season long. Thanks to our ACST League Commissioner Danny Finn, our ACST stats, numbers, and all kinds of, NFL next-gen stats-esque tracking and all that, crunched by Micah Imparato. I want to thank Brian Hebert for helping me with some of the statistical graphics used in this broadcast, particularly the slide layouts and all of that. Thank the staff at Leda Lanes, Leda's Lighthouse, always accommodating, always helpful. And I want to thank you for watching, as always. Wouldn't do this without you. Appreciate you watching the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. from wherever it is you're watching it. If you're new to the world of Candlepin bowling content, I want to thank you for watching. Hope this was a pleasant experience for you. I always invite you to strike, comment, and subscribe to the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour page on Facebook, and Candlepin Corner, Alley Chat, Candlepin Bowling channel on YouTube. All kinds of other videos, streams, and productions are regularly posted to Results Statistics. Oh, and Candlepin Bowling Network on YouTube as well, or Facebook if that's what you prefer. JJ, no spare here. He'll take a 7 fill on the spare from the 9th frame, and he'll take an 8 box, finishing with a 118. And that is it. So in an upset upon upsets, both bowlers from the division of B where we thought we were going to make a run, we actually have been eliminated. Rob Brown will move on to the next round of the playoffs. Final totals 559 to 541. Rob Brown wins the match by 18. And that is it. So Rob Brown will move on. I'm not sure who he's going to be facing next. I think we still have some other matches to bowl before we figure all that out. But so far, Rob Brown and Eric Hawley Sr. have moved on to the next rounds of the playoffs here at the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour. So just imagine Big X next to my name and Big X next to JJ Tourigny. Later on, we'll see John Alosa and Joe Rushlow bowl against each other, and we'll have Kevin Dietrich and Dominic Palladino bowl against each other. Those matches are tomorrow on Sunday. So anyways, that should be about it from us here at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. I invite you to check out also Candlepin Bowling Network and Candlepin Corner for Candlepin Skins in the Friday Night Pro League. Be sure to strike, comment, and subscribe for plenty of Candlepin bowling content. Stay tuned to the Facebook page of the Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour for more playoff bowling action this weekend even. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning at Boutwell's Bowling Center for Joe Rushlow versus John Alosa. And I will definitely see you guys at the next Atlantic Candlepin Singles Tour match. And check out candlepin.org and click Go Bowling to find your nearest center if you would like to go bowling. If you think you can bowl better than JJ Tourigny or Rob Brown, I challenge you to do so. Check it all out. Anyways, I've been Steve Kelly, and for Rob Brown and JJ Tourigny, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.